All right, we do have a question here for a sprint takeover. Should I plot the whole series or focus just on book one from Kajetan Writes? That is an excellent question, and I do applaud you for planning out to have a whole season. I think Emily has a great answer. I'd say only book one and have a vague idea where the rest of the series is going. Dazzlecat says, I think you should big plot the series, but all other plotting as you write the current book. Yeah. Okay, there we go. That's the timer. So let me start. I don't know if you can see the timer while I'm on this screen. So I think that's the big issue right there, is to have a general idea. Because if you think about the book series out there, I mean, the Lord of the Rings, that 3-book series was actually meant only to be one book, but due to the limitations of printing presses at the time, they couldn't print it in one book, The Lord of the Rings. So they split it up into the 3 different books. But when you get into other series, it really depends what kind of a series you have. If you think about, like, Harry Potter, there are 7 books. There were only meant to be 7 books because there are 7 years that Harry attends Hogwarts. So that was a closed series. When you think of other series, Diane Duane, I think of it, her Wizarding book series, it was only meant, it is an open-ended series, and it can just keep going and going and going without an end in sight. Or Brad Thor's books, they just keep going. So it really depends on what kind of a series that you want to have. If you are having an epic Wheel of Time-esque series where you are just going to keep going, where you are going to have a beginning and an end, and you want to cover a huge arc of a person over many, many years, or however you define it, then I would then consider having a whole story arc. You could think of it as a television series. All right? You have this series itself, but then you have seasons, and then you have episodes. So what you could do is, if you treat each episode as a book or a novella, and each season as a series, you could say, okay, I'm going to write a trilogy. Think Star Wars. I'm going to have a trilogy of movies. Well, I want to do a trilogy of trilogies. All right. Well, there you can have more information about. Then you can keep doing that. Narnia. Was Narnia always intended to be the number of books it was? I forget how many it was. On the other hand, if you don't have I'm a big plotter, but I found I prefer to work this way because this gives me a lot of freedom to make changes in book one during revisions. Okay. On the other hand, Emily says, if you don't have an overall idea where you're going, you can drive yourself into a dead end. Very true. Like if you kill the bad guy at the end of one of the earlier story, and then you have no villain in the last story, and you need to resurrect Palpatine. Shots fired, shots fired. They could... don't get me all started on... Yes, as Narnia, 7 books, is actually Genesis to Revelation, despite C.S. Lewis being an atheist. C.S. Lewis was not an atheist. Have you read Mere Christianity? he was literally a preacher. Oh yeah, he started as one. Well, yeah. Lewis had rejected Christianity in his early teens and lived as an atheist through his 20s. Lewis turned to theism in 1930, although Lewis misdated it to 1929 in Surprised by Joy, and to Christianity in 1931, partly with the help of his close friend and devout Roman Catholic J.R.R. Tolkien. Yeah. Well, we all have a journey to travel. Okay, so hopefully that does help answer your question. As you can do it a lot of different ways, but I recommend if you think about your series as a season of television and your books or novellas as episodes within it, you have the overflying arc, but then you have you work on the episode by episode. All right.